Welcome back to Scovid Rewind. In this video, we'll be exploring one of the action thriller movie from 2023 titled Jailor. Before we begin, I hope you're having an amazing day. Grab your favorite snack, sit back, and enjoy the recap. Let's dive straight into the story. Muthavel Pandian has spent most of his life behind thick bars, but not as a convict, as a jailer. Now retired, he lives quietly in a small town, a man who looks like he's carrying the weight of years, but moves with a slow, steady dignity. He's the kind of guy who knows how to read people by the way they tie their shoes. He keeps to himself, tending a simple routine and the few people left in his world, his daughter, his family, and the routines that keep his mind steady. You can almost see the discipline in the way he makes his tea. He's not looking for trouble. Trouble, as it turns out, has a habit of finding him. The movie opens by setting him up as a retired man with a painful past, but an unbroken spine. There's light humor early on, small jabs from neighbors, the occasional tease about his age, but it's quiet, grounded, and it's a clever way of showing that life has moved on, at least on the surface. That normalcy is important because when the rug gets pulled out from under him, the contrast makes everything hit harder. The first act introduces what the film is really about: family, honor, and the slow ignition of a man who has held himself back for the sake of peace. Muthavel's history as a jailer matters. It's not just a job title, it's a language he speaks fluently, how criminals think, how systems bend, where justice fails. When his family is threatened, he doesn't turn to guns and bravado alone. He draws on a lifetime of experience and a ledger of old debts and grudges. The inciting incident is cruel and efficient. A violent act, a kidnapping and a murder, shocks his world and throws everything into motion. The injustice is personal and immediate. You can see the steam come out of his ears, but in a calm, controlled way. He is not a man who loses himself to fury, he channels it. As the second act kicks in, we meet the main players on both sides. The villains are not one-dimensional. There's a crime syndicate with reach, men who think in terms of leverage and territory. They're loud and dangerous, and they underestimate Muthavel because he's retired. That's their mistake. On Muthavel's side are allies who are as colorful as they are skilled. Former prisoners who owe him, a few honest cops who respect him, and his grieving family who are now vulnerable and desperate. The movie smartly avoids piling on names and complicated backstories at once. Instead, characters are revealed through action and small scenes. A former inmate arrives with a nod. A cop offers a piece of information over a cup of poor coffee. It's low-key world building that feels lived in. The plot moves forward with Muthavel taking a series of quiet, methodical steps. He doesn't barrel in blindly. He starts by tracking leads, old contacts at the prison, information gleaned from men who once feared him. There's something satisfying about watching a retired official dust off skills you didn't even know he had. He uses subtle intimidation rather than brute force at first. A phone call, a visit to a cramped room where former foes still respect the man who put them away. There's a sense of chess in his moves. If the villains expect a revenge spectacle, they're in for a different kind of lesson. There are smaller set pieces along the way that build tension and character. A sequence in a dingy bar reveals a lie, a guy who's been hiding the truth about the night of the crime. Another scene in which Muthavel sits across from an old warden shows the power dynamics of their former world. They speak in language that's half protocol, half accusation. These moments are not just plot devices, they deepen our understanding of Muthavel's code. He believes in accountability, and he believes that people can be counted on to do the right thing when reminded of who they were. That belief is his greatest weapon, and sometimes his biggest blind spot. As he closes in, the movie introduces moral complexity. Not all criminals are purely evil, and not all lawmen are incorruptible. There's betrayal among people he thought he could trust, and there's unexpected loyalty from faces you'd least suspect. The film uses that to keep you guessing. Who will stand with him when things go south? Who will fold? These choices matter because the stakes are personal. His family is still at risk, and because they expose the messy human landscape that sits between law and an eye for an eye. The midpoint is a pivot. Muthavel realizes the conspiracy is bigger than he imagined. The people who have taken a loved one from him aren't petty thugs. They're connected, with political cover and muscle who've learned to operate in the gray. He figures out that brute force will not be enough. He needs to dismantle the network. So he does two things at once. He sharpens the hunt by gathering intelligence, and he starts freeing certain men from prison. Not because he's lost his mind, but because he knows how to turn every pawn into a queen on a board that isn't what it seems. There's a smart sequence where prison cells become recruitment offices. Men who were caged now become his instruments, and the film plays with the irony of a jailer liberating the lawless to do a kind of rough justice. It's morally ambiguous, but in the film's world it's believable because Muthavel's motives are crystalline, family above all. There are a couple of cool, stylized action moments that the movie leans into, and they serve character as much as they serve spectacle. When Muthavel finally engages in hand-to-hand combat, it's not showy choreography. It's efficient, almost surgical. He uses momentum, misdirection, and the environment to his advantage. There's one fight where he's more predator than man. He uses a closed space to isolate and disarm an opponent with quiet precision. The editing and sound design in these moments are sharp. They make each hit count and ensure you feel the physical stakes without losing the emotional thread. Also, the film knows how to give you breathers. Between the darker turns, there are slices of domestic warmth, brief scenes of the family before everything falls apart, a touch of humor from a younger relative who idolizes Muthavel, a domestic argument that reveals their closeness. Those moments keep the film emotionally grounded. You care about the family, which is essential, because if the people at risk were cardboard cutouts, the action wouldn't land. As the climax approaches, alliances crystallize and the real antagonist's plan becomes clear. There's a tense negotiation between criminals, a betrayal that reveals who the true puppet masters are, and a final ticking clock scenario where Muthavel must move swiftly. The rescue sequences are layered, part stealth, part negotiation, part full-throttle combat. The film ensures we understand that every move has a cost. Muthavel is not perfect. He gambles and he loses some pieces along the way. The movie doesn't shy away from the consequences of vengeance, even when it's justified. That gives the finale weight. It's not simply a win for the hero, it's a reckoning. The film lets you sit with the ethical tension rather than solving it neatly. That restraint is smart. It respects the audience's ability to weigh the moral complexity. The last act builds toward a showdown in a place that feels almost biblical, a big, empty industrial area, a forgotten warehouse where deals are made and broken. The director stages it so that every corner could hide a truth. Muthavel moves through that space like a man who's been here before, reading cues, setting up reversals. The villain's overconfidence is their undoing. They think power and numbers will win, but they didn't reckon on the jailer's patience and the loyalty he commands. There's a moment where Muthavel faces the main antagonist in a scene that's less about choreography and more about the exchange of values. Honor versus greed, steadiness versus chaos. The confrontation is terse yet cathartic. Words are few, consequences are many. In the fallout, the film takes a quiet turn. It doesn't go for an overblown catharsis or contrived redemption for everyone involved. Instead, it gives a sober accounting. Some people are saved, some are lost, and the cost of taking control of a corrupt web is real. Muthavel achieves his immediate goals, but the film makes it clear that no victory comes without scars. The final scene returns to the domestic, to the rituals and routines that make up a life. It's a reminder that the violence and strategizing were never ends in themselves. They were means to protect the people who matter most. There's a bittersweet note to the end. Justice in the film's world is messy, but sometimes necessary. Thank you for watching. If you are just new to our channel, don't forget to subscribe for more movie recaps.